Wes Goldberg, very simple cold open question for you today. Scale of 1 to 10, because we're going to talk about him, I think, in our power rankings today. Paolo Banchero about to be back. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for Paolo to be back for the Orlando Magic?
Well, 7, I guess.
I'm a
I'd be
10.
more excited if you're. I respect it. Maybe I'm probably lowballing it
You're
an 8. I want them all back. That's the thing. Is Suggs is still a
yeah,
little hurt, Franz Wagner,
yeah,
but very excited, especially if we get that Paolo who was just on a heater. Looked like
yep,
legitimately a top 10 player in the NBA for the first couple
yes.
weeks of the season before he got hurt.
One of the best players in the NBA the first couple weeks of the season, and him just being taken off the board was such an absolute kick to the nuts. It was a low blow to an NBA fan who likes good basketball. So today, Cavs Thunder, the best game of the season. I think against, a little spoiler maybe, the two best teams in the league, question mark, and top 10 power rankings. Wes, consensus power rankings or individual power rankings? What are we doing? What do you think? I think consensus. The Just Basketball top 10.
Let's try to come to a consensus.
We'll see.
So we have a debate coming up.
Yeah, we have a debate. See if we can be more productive than most governing bodies in this wonderful country we have. All right, on today's show, that's all we're doing. Let's dive in. What is up, everyone? Chris Manning and Wes Goldberg here on the Just Basketball Show. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review on your podcast platform of choice. 5-star reviews only, please, and thank you. Find us on YouTube. I'm going to do a little extra video for YouTube this week because Satu Sabali has said she's not going back to the Dallas Wings. Big news in the W. Going to cover that in a little 10-minute video for you that's going to go up late Thursday. A Fever or the Mercury seem like good landing places for her, but that's coming up later today, or you probably already can go find that now when you're listening to this. But Wes, we are brought to people today by BetMGM.
Yes, we are. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code JUSTBasketball. You'll get up to $1,500 and a first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Sign up using the code JUSTBasketball and deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure to use that bonus code JUSTBasketball when you sign up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older to wager. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, Wes, let's dive in. Cavs Thunder was, I think, the best basketball game I've seen this entire season. I'm a little bit biased in the moment, but I thought that was the best game of the season. It was the two, I think, best performing teams as of right now. A team on a 15-game win streak, a team on a 10-game win streak. The home team won, had to, I think, go through some adversity, deal with a kind of an off-down of a Mitchell night to get it done. Obviously, injuries on the Thunder side, Chet, Caruso's out, etc. But a very highly competitive game, a very skilled game, a very fun game with big third quarters and also really good defense. A big Jared Allen game. There's so much we could poke at. But what to you was the big standout from Cavs Thunder?
That it lived up to the expectations, right? This was a game, minus a couple of the injuries to Oklahoma City. Both teams were rested, a couple of days off between their last game. No back-to-backs. Like so many of the NBA season's regular season game schedule, or so much of the schedule during the NBA regular season is kind of ruined by the fact that these back-to-backs exist, and what should be a great game ends up being just sort of a rest advantage game and scheduled loss for another team. But that was not the case in this one. And you had two young teams who haven't accomplished anything so far in the league, but who have playoff experience, coming in and wanting to make a statement. And I thought Kenny Atkinson's interview with the broadcast during the game, how he was just like, we're just having fun. This is a great game out here. Pretty much summed everything up. Both of these teams understood the moment, and neither of them shied away from it. And I know it's just a regular season game in January, but this is exactly what the NBA wanted, and it's exactly as an NBA fan what you wanted to see is both of these teams taking this game very seriously. There's no tiebreakers. There's nothing important with this game. Both of these teams have more than a 5-game lead in their respective conferences as the number one seeds. Like, this game numerically meant nothing. But from a pride standpoint, from a let's show somebody something standpoint, let's prove it to somebody standpoint, this game meant everything. And as we're going to get into here, it means a lot for how we're about to, consider these teams in terms of the hierarchy in the NBA. And so I love that both of these teams came out, took it seriously, and it was just a really fun basketball game. It was well played. Despite the score being as high as it was, I thought both defenses played really well. It was just great shot. It was just better shot making by both sides. And so just the quality of the product was there too, right? You got the hype, you got the right approach, you got great quality. This looked like two juggernauts facing off. And that was what was so fun about it.
I mean, you had 30 lead changes, 8 ties.
Unreal. Yeah.
No team led by more than 9 points in this game. Not a single double-digit lead in this game, which in the modern NBA, I don't have like the exact number in front of me. It feels like that never happened because like 12 points isn't really even like a big lead anymore. Cavs were in front for 24 minutes total. The Thunder led for 22. No team had a scoring run bigger than 8 points. Cavs had 8, Thunder had 7. This was like evenly matched game. This would made me think, Wes, that this would be like a great NBA Finals. Like, I think it's possible we get that NBA Finals. I think this series would be competitive. I think this series has future stars in the league. I think this felt like teams that have grown up since last year in very different ways. Even if there's so many little subplots of this game that I think you could drive it. Even something like Jared Allen. This was maybe the best Jared Allen game of the entire season, particularly in the first half. He was aggressive. He was dominant. If you think about who was the first guy that really put a dent in the Jared Allen armor and the whatever, it was Isaiah Hartenstein with that Knicks team that absolutely punked the Cavs like 2 years ago. Didn't happen here. Allen was awesome.
Well, his teammates came out anonymously and called him soft.
And then last year he had legitimately like a very bad rib injury, and his then former coach and Marcus Morris both like went on record and just absolutely threw him under the
both of those guys aren't there anymore, and Jared Allen is.
Yeah, making a lot more money than both of them. But he had 25 and 11 and 6 assists. Like a great Jared Allen game. Great Jared Allen game.
Yeah, the way Cleveland plays through their bigs, Jared Allen. I thought Evan Mobley had such great moments in that game. You said that like a finals would have everything. It would have these future stars. It would have future stars. It has current stars. It has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who right now might be the front runner for MVP. It has Donovan Mitchell, who has been a staple in the playoffs for years now, right? Darius Garland, who has been an all-star and might be an all-star again. Jared Allen, who has also been an all-star before. But you also have the future stars, whether it's Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren on OKC's side or Evan Mobley on the Cavaliers side. There's just it's a win for small markets. But I mean, I'm telling you, watching that game, I don't know. Like if you were not from the United States, would you even know that these were small markets? Like there was so much hype around that game. The way that ESPN treated it, I thought was great. Like a real lead up. Yeah. They came out with the features, like everything like that. Like it didn't matter. I think that this would look, of course, it's not it wouldn't be Lakers Celtics. It wouldn't be even Warriors Cavs, but it would be a really exciting finals matchup if this is what we ended up getting.
I'm gonna get one thing that annoys me, and it's like anti like my belief set on getting annoyed about things I can't control. But the only thing that I think would suck was the amount of like media members bitching about having to go to these cities. That's like the only thing about this that would suck, because you'd have a bunch of media members like, I'll have to spend 2 weeks, and like you get paid a lot of money or decent money to like watch basketball.
And if I could say something, I think, and I'm not pandering to my audience here, I think Cleveland's underrated.
Thank you. It is.
I know everybody dreams of what's the 30 Rock quote? I know we all dream of just leaving New York and retiring to Cleveland, right? Yeah. But I think Oklahoma City is a little underrated also, because it's very convenient. Everything's there's a million hotels in walking distance to that arena, and that's my pitch to Oklahoma. Also,
it's take an Uber.
You could take an Uber, and also in Oklahoma City, I got a cheeseburger and a beer once for like $6. And as somebody from Miami, where that costs $26, that was amazing.
I took John Corrales, Locked on Celtics host, good guide to a dive bar. Look, I like John. He was a good guy.
No, he's a great guy. I love John.
We had beers. You have to ask him what he thought of this away from me, but we went to a dive bar and had a burger and beers, and I think it was like $20.
In Boston?
In Cleveland.
Oh, in Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been to Boston yet. Wes, you talk to more NBA media people than I do. I will be a free guy to tell people to stop bitching about only eating near the hotel. Give you some odds from BetMGM right now. Celtics minus 105 are the favorites in the East. Cavs are plus 400. Knicks plus 500. Bucks plus 1100. Magic plus 1600. In the West, Thunder are the favorites at plus 125, Nuggets at plus 700, Mavericks at plus
Wow.
800, Grizzlies at plus 1,000. So, like in both conferences, we have two pretty distinct leaders. The Cavs are closer in second place than the closest West place team. In the NBA Finals, Celtics plus 240, Thunder plus 260, Cavs plus 800, Knicks plus 1,200, Nuggets plus 1,600, Mavericks plus 1,800, Bucks plus 2,500.
What about it?
That's the title awards. I think that feels right.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Memphis is getting a little bit of a plus 1,000. Does not whatever. I would be
Memphis is getting closer.
Based on, and they might have a trade to make. Based on everything, we're going to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just looking for value and not necessarily trying to be predictive on this, put all your money on Cleveland because there is so much value still in that number. They've been qualitatively the best team in the Eastern Conference, and yet they are still so far and away behind Boston. And look, is Boston a little bit foot off the gas right now? It seems that that's probably the case. And so I wouldn't say like, hey, bet your life on Cleveland over Boston. I would have a hard time doing that. But in terms of just like trying to get good value on a BetMGM money line or money here, Cleveland gives you some pretty good value. Do you have in front of you, and you can just say no, we don't need to look it up, but like, do you have it in front of you, the odds on a finals matchup? Because I know the last time I checked, it was like OKC Boston was at like plus 400. And then OKC Cleveland was at like plus 1,400 or something.
Let me pull. I have it. I was gotta find the team. So Cavs.
Because that's what I would be looking at is give me the matchup odds, or those are some of the best odds that you can get.
Cavaliers versus Thunder is plus 1,100.
Oh, so okay, so so I looked it up at plus 1,400 a couple days ago, and now
that's still pretty good though. Like if you're getting
no,
value,
it's still time to get in.
That's good value. You get that at BetMGM. MVP odds, by the way, SGA is now minus 185.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic plus 130. Giannis.
We forgot about that stinker in the NBA Cup real quick, didn't we?
We did. He realized that like maybe that didn't matter as much. Defensive Player of the Year, Wemby is minus 400. Jaren Jackson plus 1,000. Evan Mobley plus 1,100. Yeah,
he's Wemby's running away with it.
Yeah, Mobley should be closer, but I get it. All right. Cavs Thunder, great. I'm gonna rewatch that game this weekend, and like rewatching NBA games with how much is going on is.
What do you mean? You don't have to. Just wait until Thursday. We get it again next week.
Yeah, but I want to rewatch this one because there's a chance the one next week is not as good. There's just like
it would be a little bit
like the basketball gods, whatever they had in the water here to like really make this one like sing it was pretty great. Like if there's a better NBA game this regular season, I'd be flabbergasted if there's a better game.
I can't wait to watch it.
I will stay up till 4 a.m. to watch that section. I need sleep's vital. All right, power rankings, Wes. Let's start. Do you want to start Let's start at 1, obviously, and we'll work our way through.
Okay. So 1 to 10. 1 being the best.
Let's nominate back and forth and try to put teams in spots so we can negotiate this.
All right.
We got about 20 minutes to do it. Let's flip a coin real quick. You nominate first. Heads or tails?
Give me yours first.
All right, Cavs are at 1, and I don't think the Cavs are 1. The Cavs earned 1 by beating the Thunder and having the best net rating in the league.
I also have Cleveland number 1, and I was waiting for last night's game to decide who I was going to have number 1. And maybe it's not a good enough reason in one head-to-head matchup. But to me, the two best teams in the league have been Cleveland and Oklahoma City. And I said, obviously we had this planned. We've been talking about doing a power rankings after that game for a week now. And I said, you know what? Whichever team wins Wednesday night, that's the team that's getting my number 1 spot. And they deserve it. Look, if Oklahoma City had won, I would have given them the number 1 spot. But right now it's Cleveland. They beat the Thunder, and they beat them fair and square. Thunder fans come out. We didn't have Chet. We didn't have Alex Caruso. Okay, yes, you didn't. I know that. Cleveland has looked amazing all season. They could play in multiple ways. They have the 2 bigs with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. That is a matchup nightmare for every team, including the Thunder. We would see what happens if you have Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. But here's the thing. The Thunder or the Cavs, the first year when they did Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together, last year, or not the first year, but last year when they did Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together, there were some growing pains. And it took a few years to try to figure that out and a new coach and everything like that. I know Mark Daigneault's the reigning coach of the year. I know he's incredible. And I would assume he's going to figure it out faster than JB Bickerstaff would have. But are we sure that they're just going to know how to do it right away? Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein? I'm not. It's going to
take some time.
It's going to take a little bit of time. So Cleveland has already had that time. And they've got all of that baked in. I love the way Donovan Mitchell has backed off. He's still, and Wednesday night was not his most efficient game, but he's still unreal. He's still very efficient. Has really emerged as a leader. Darius Garland has been incredible for this team. Hit that floater that he's hitting at like a 60% clip is insane.
The shot he hit on
Basically a
Kason
layup.
Wallace to ice this game was incredible. Like, that is the kind of shot, Wes, that I see Garland make, and it gives me confidence that he's going to be able to make shots in the playoffs in a tough half-court setting.
And I know they have like this great offense. They've got the 3-point shooting is what it is. It's incredible. Defensively, they're also very good. And that's sort of the thing that drives it home for me. And even, they're even climbing up the rankings. They're 8th in defensive rating right now, according to Cleaning the Glass. So this team is awesome. They have everything you need. I've said it before, but if they were wearing Lakers jerseys, this team would be the title favorites. But we just have a hard time, wrapping our head around Cleveland without LeBron James being this team. But they are this team. They are that good. Do you have Oklahoma City number 2?
I have OKC 2, and it was not that was pretty easy for me.
Most of the metrics have them number 1. I know even going into last night's game, they were number 1 in net rating. They're number 1 in this, that, and the other thing. Like I said, easily could be number 1 on this list, but they lost, so they're number 2.
Their defense is absolutely incredible. Like, I think Lou Dort is having one of the best perimeter wing defensive seasons I think we've seen in recent memory. Like, Mitchell missed a couple shots that I think could have gone in last night, but I think Dort deserves a ton of credit for actually
awesome job on Mitchell. Like, took him out of his comfort zone.
And if they're playing a team in the finals or the Western Conference Finals this year with the way he's playing, that's a potential game series tilting kind of player with how good he is defensively. I mean, it is there for him.
He doesn't need the ball. He's exactly what this team needs. I mean, I don't if you were another, what would it take for the Thunder to even trade Lou Dort? It would be he's so unique on this team. I know they have Caruso and Kason Wallace, but they're the best
a tier
version
down
of all of that.
They're a tiered. He's leveled up over time. Like, he could have plateaued 2 years ago and still been a very effective player, but a tradable one. Now, when I think you're have a real window, that is not a tradable player. I think he's playing that well.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got Boston 3.
I do too. I think the top 3 was really easy.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And we've talked a ton about Boston. My only thing with Boston right now is I have 2 things. Number 1, I do find them a little soulless to watch. Mm-hmm. Like, they just are. And 2, I do think I'm waiting for them. I think the reason, if you look at the betting odds and them still being the favorites, particularly in the East, I think it's just because everyone is expecting them to just be better when they actually need to be.
I agree. And that's probably the right take. But I will say there are concerns that I have about this team. The first one is health.
Yes.
That's my first issue. Is now Drew Holiday is getting hurt. He's in and out of the lineup. Jaylen Brown has been in and out a little bit. Obviously, you've got Porzingis. The defense has slipped. They're right now. I mean, the defensive part to me is the issue. Is this slippage because they're just not taking the regular season as seriously, or is there slippage because this team is aging and unhealthy? And it probably is a little bit of both. And this team was a juggernaut defensively last year, and I don't think they're as good anymore. And that's just the thing. That's just the thing that has happened. Now, they ran roughshod through the entire Eastern Conference and won the NBA Finals in 5 games. So maybe they don't have to be that good defensively, but that was a core part of their identity and their formula to winning the championship. So even if they're a hair worse defensively, you have to ask yourself, what does that mean for the formula overall? And does that still equal championship? But again, I would probably lean more towards they could probably still get to that level. And we've seen them get to that level when they've wanted to kind of get up for those big games in this season. The other two things I'm a little that jump out to me. They're 24th in shots made in the restricted area.
Yep.
And I know that's never really been a huge part of their game, but they were in the middle of the pack last year. So they as much as it wasn't part of their offensive formula last year as they leaned into the 5-out 3-point shooting stuff, it's even less of a thing for them this year. Their 3-point percentage went from best in the league last year to substantially worse this year. They went from 39% to 36% this year. They're still leading the league in 3-point makes, but that's because they're taking almost 7 more 3-point attempts per game. This team is more reliant on the 3-point shot than they've ever been. And that, to me, is a problem. right? I know, like, and the math nerds can come out and they could tell me it's not a problem. This is where the NBA was always going. Whatever. All I know is when I watch these games, at the end of some of these close games, sometimes it's just like you want them to just go get a bucket. And I wonder if like some of these bad habits creeping in with the defense and just settling for threes and not getting to the basket. The free throw rate is so low with this team. It just feels like this is a one note team.
That's why they feel soulless to me. When I say soulless, that's
you know who
that's what I mean.
Friend Adam Matas put it this way. I loved it. They're like the tax loophole of NBA teams. They're just like, we know they're there, we know it works, but nobody enjoys it. It's just it's like, yep, that's what they do.
Yeah, they still have all the advantages from last year, to your point, but it is just that Spurs game they lost where they scored, I think, 27 points and a half.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that they're now. I think when you go so heavily on the three that you are then more vulnerable to happening. And like, I think there are at least two teams in these that they are not good enough to overcome that. And if that happens like twice in a series, I think there are at least two teams that are good enough to beat them at the Celtics.
Is the next team number 4 on your list?
Yes.
The Indiana Pacers? Oh, okay.
When we need to do like a most disappointing team and players episode, I think, Wes, at some point. Like, I don't like to be a hater, but I know they're playing better of late. Halliburton has been, I think, my most underwhelming player in the league.
Well, hold on to your Indiana takes because we're gonna get them. But
you have them in your top. Wait. Do you have them in your top 10?
I also have the Knicks number 4.
Okay, so I think after like 5 or 6, it can get like entirely.
That's why I'm almost like wanting to breeze through the top 4 because I think everybody has them in this order.
Let's move on from the Knicks. Who do you have?
One thing on the Knicks.
Okay.
Last 2 weeks, 8th in defensive rating and cleaning the glass. They have really improved defensively. Karl-Anthony Towns has been awesome for them this year. Specifically figuring it out defensively after a rough start of the season. So good for the Knicks.
And Mitchell Robinson's health, I think, is like one of the biggest X factors in the East for the playoffs. Like what he can give them is going to be absolutely massive. And
this is where we're going to start disagreeing. Who do you have at 5?
I have Houston.
All right, I don't.
Who do you have?
I have Memphis.
So I have Memphis. At like on my notes right now, 5A.
Okay.
So I am comfortable putting them at 5. It was very close. I think if I think Memphis at 5 is a great call, and I think there's a couple of things I really love about this Memphis team. Number 1, they're 9-7 without Ja.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really good. They're outscoring teams by like 6 points a game without Ja.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really great. Now, they've had a recent bad slide where they're, I think, 2-6 or 2-7 without him, or 2-5 somewhere in there. That's not particularly good. That's going to be an issue. They're better with him at home, which I think is good. And I also think when you think about their balance, I think about the fact this is a possible trade team as well. I think there's just like a ton there, and I think they're already really, really good. They have, looking at this now, 5th in offense, 4th in defense, incredibly balanced.
Yeah, they're the only
net rating.
They're the only team in the league that's in top 5 offensive rating and top 5 defensive rating. They are the most balanced team in the league. The reason that they can get away without Ja Morant is because their defense is just this good, right? Like their defense is great. Jaren Jackson Jr. got stress tested last year without Ja Morant to become a better on-ball creator, and you're seeing some of that now. But also the drafting of Zach Edey returned them to their formula. He's
really good.
He's been so important for them, and we know what the formula is with this team, right? When they had Steven Adams and Jonas Valanciunas, it's like big center who could set bone-crushing screens for Ja Morant. They lost Tyus Jones a couple years ago. Marcus Smart has filled in that backup point guard role, and when Ja Morant is out, Marcus Smart plays an even bigger role. Jalen Wells is probably the leader for Rookie of the Year at this point. I don't know who else you give it to. Edey could also get in that conversation.
Edey, I believe, I'm going to check, I believe is the betting favorite. I was looking at this when we were talking about other odds, but I'll pull this up as you're talking.
Jalen Wells has been great. This team is deep. Brandon Clark is having a great bounce back year after the Achilles. Jake LaRavia, other guys have given them moments, even though LaRavia's cooled off a little bit. And they're well coached. There's nothing not to like about this Memphis Grizzlies team. I think that they should be a major buyer before the deadline. I think they are a piece away. As much as I like Jalen Wells, are we really going to trust him to be starting in a playoff series against Oklahoma City, Dallas, Denver, like these other teams? Not sure. Can they go shore that up a little bit? We know that they were involved for Dorian Finney-Smith. Who's the next Dorian Finney-Smith that they can go chase? That's the big question for Memphis, but right now I have them at number 5. To me, they're a piece away from being a clear cut in that top tier with those other 4 teams that we've been talking about.
Edie's at plus 140, Sar's at plus 240, Misi's at plus 550, Wells plus 700, Stefan Castle is at plus 1,000. Yeah, Misi's good. Honestly, another thing I would say, Wes, just isn't about them, but I do think I like this rookie class a lot more than I did after the draft. And
good for you.
There's a lesson there. I'm not saying it's overwhelming with generational talent, but there's 6-7 guys. All the guys on the rookie of the year thing, I think are gonna have good long NBA. Reese Shea is better than I thought he was gonna be.
So I also don't have I don't have Houston at 6. I have Dallas at 6.
Okay, I have Dallas at 9.
Okay, I have Houston at 9.
Okay. Who do you have at 7? Maybe this is who we should put at 6.
I have Denver.
So I have Denver at 7.
All right, so we're just gonna move them up to 6. That's fine.
Denver gets bumped to 6, and I would say I think.
Can I make my Dallas case?
Yeah, please.
What would you have had Dallas at before Luka and Kyrie got hurt? Because when that was the case, they had won 14 of 17 games.
Yeah,
their defense was trending in the right direction. They were clicking on all cylinders. They looked every bit the NBA Finals contender, and now they just haven't had their starting backcourt there. I'm not going to hold that against them, and they've still won a couple of games here. To me, I feel like Dallas is a pretty clear 6. I have them to me, I would consider Memphis and Dallas before I go Dallas, Denver, Houston, all those other teams.
They went 1-5 in their first 6 without Lucas into the calf strain. That was why I think you have to bump them down. It is a product of they lost some games, and
without Luka though. I mean, qualitatively, do you think of them differently?
No, but I mean, he's gonna miss a month, so they're gonna slide. And it's just I think you can look at this one of 2 ways. You can say, okay, we look at every team at their best, or we have to take them at a snapshot of this moment. I lean more of snapshot of this moment, and I think just with the injury, you have to ding them just a little bit.
If you're considering that they don't have Luka and Kyrie in this moment, then they shouldn't be in the top 10.
Sure, but I think it's okay. I think it's a marriage of body of work and right now, and I think that's where you just slide them a little bit below
So we can move then we'll move Denver up to 6.
Yeah, I think Denver should go at 6.
Jokic, their 4th best record in the Western Conference, despite the depth concerns. I have real concerns about this Denver Nuggets team, though.
I don't think Denver is going to win the title this year. I don't think they have it deeply in them, but I think they're going to take someone to the brink in the playoffs, I think, is where this is going to end. And it's going to be one of those things where it's it's going to be one of those seasons where Jokic has an absolute another monster year, but it's clear he needs more if he's going to get another title. That's what it feels like to me.
So if we're moving Denver up to 6, and who do we have at 7?
The candidates I would have in this range would be Houston, Dallas, and Orlando would be kind of my next 3.
Oh, so I didn't have Orlando in my top 10.
Okay. I'll say this. My draft of this list came after they just went into the MSG and just punk the Knicks.
I would love to have Orlando on this list, and we'll see what Paolo looks like. I mean, in 3 days, I might have them back in my top 10, but I don't really know what to make of them right now.
Do you want to go Dallas at 7?
Yes.
Okay, and then are you cool with Houston at 8?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I think 9 and 10.
And by the way, I know that I have you had first mentioned Houston at 6, and you're probably right. And I know I have this bias against Houston, and I really like this. I love watching the Rockets play. Amen Thompson filling in for Jabari Smith Jr. lately has been incredible. He literally superstar numbers. He's averaging 20 and 15. It's insane. He's been great.
Team, again, I said this as a prediction on our prediction show, but that team is going to be a big buyer in the summer.
Yep.
Honestly, if Jalen Green wasn't just absolutely stalled out as a player, I would like this team even more. But he's giving them.
That's the problem. I mean, they are
a huge problem.
They're top 5 in basically every metric, but they just don't have that number 1 option to make me feel really good about them against any team, against in a playoff series against any of the teams in front of them. So I couldn't get them up higher.
Is it rude? Is it too rude to say Jalen Green feels like the beast holding this team back?
No, I think that's and Fred VanVleet, by the way, hasn't been awesome for them.
No, but it's their
backcourt is holding them back.
No, and I think you would. I think the way I look at it though is VanVleet is at that point where he's old enough where I expect that to happen, and you figure out a transition plan. When theoretically Jalen Green should have been absorbing some of that now, and it hasn't happened.
Totally. So we've got Houston at 8.
Yeah, to recap, here's the top 8 right now: Cavs, Thunder, Celtics, Knicks, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Mavericks, Rockets.
All right. I've got Milwaukee next on my list.
Okay, I had Milwaukee at 10, so I'm cool. I'm absolutely cool with them at 9. Here we are. I am fungible more than I am at the top.
All right, so then
I
we've
think I
got
think
if we're
here
gonna
is
do
like a big
Milwaukee at
fucking
9, then we're gonna
conglomeration.
debate. We're gonna have a debate at 10. But um, the thing about the Bucks is they're a little like who is that quarterback that he's like Kirk? They're like the Kirk Cousins of the NBA, where it's just like, is it Kirk Cousins in the NFL? It's like every
It's
time there's like a
this
Monday
year,
Night Football thing
and he
with
just
him.
plays really bad.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. No, so it's the opposite of that. I need literally the antithesis of like when the lights are brightest, they play really well, but like when nobody's watching, they kind of shit the bed a little bit.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is
know. Yeah, they're
That's the
that.
Milwaukee Bucks. You would think that this team is like, I have it written like this team can hit in a high gear every time they want. Like when the chips are down, this team just has another gear to them that they get to. And then I looked at their record against teams with a top 10 point differential, which is a great stat that Cleaning the Glass keeps. They're 2-8.
Yeah,
Isn't that surprising? Like they beat the Thunder in the NBA Cup game, and that game doesn't even count for this. But they beat the Thunder in that NBA Cup game, and I'm like, wow, this like you got Giannis, you got Dame, they really like they
didn't
get
even
into
party.
it, and yet they have a losing record against top 10 teams of the top 10 point differential. I don't know. I still think, despite the numerical data in front of me, I still think that this team can hit that high gear when they get there. I loved what they did against the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. I know, and the
Yeah.
Spurs are a 500 team. But
By the way, hey, they're really good though. They're like a really fun. They just like clearly
yeah,
need a couple more pieces, and Wemby's awesome. I need every Giannis Wemby game from now until Giannis retires on national television.
oh, 100%.
Put that on my television every time.
Defensively, they're more disciplined than they've been. Offensively, they've got two staple plays that they can always get to, which is the Dame Giannis pick and roll and then the Dame Brook Lopez pick and roll. They're probably like, can they turn Pat Connaughton into something? Would be my big question before the trade deadline. But they are a top 10 team with room to climb because you've got Giannis.
One other concerning thing I would say, I'll say if you look at this, including the glass, some of the lineups are very small usage and they're all over the place in an extreme way.
Yeah.
But so far this year, 217 possessions. Lineups with Dame, Middleton, and Giannis on the floor together are minus 4.8 per possessions. They're only scoring 105.5 per 100.
Yeah.
The defense is about league average.
And I looked up the
crap.
And I looked up the trio of Dame, Lillard, and Brook Lopez, and they're 1.8 net rating of plus 1.8, which is not negative, but also not what you would associate with an elite team.
They need
is
like
concerning.
they need some grouping to really blow teams out of
Yeah,
the water. But
I agree. They need to go to lineup. They're trying Middleton off the bench now. I kind of liked it against San Antonio. We'll see
Beal
how
off
that
the
works.
bench too. It's like I wonder if both of them somehow get traded, and the Beal one is obviously much more noisy and as far as what's going on there and everything.
Yep.
I do think like maybe that's just a sign that that's presaging trades and like managing that. All right, so let's just list out candidates at 10, and then we'll pick one.
Agreed. So you had Orlando. I had Indiana. I considered the Clippers.
I considered the Clippers.
I considered Sacramento.
They have been honestly
well.
like they're playing well, like out of spite. Perhaps I have the Wolves right about there as well. I have them like on the fringes.
That's the team I wanted to put at 10, but that would literally be going on blind faith because the resume this year isn't there.
Yeah, when they had when Edwards had 53 and they lost and they scored like 105 points thing on 99 possessions. I was just like, what are we doing here? Like what has happened? Like my beautiful Wolves, like they deserve better. Try to sell me on the Pacers because I think the final I guess I would say like here's the teams: Clippers, Wolves, Magic, Lakers would be the ones I'd have in contention at 10.
I just went Indiana again. A little bit of a snapshot in the moment, like you were talking about. They've won 4 games in a row. Halliburton's starting to round into form. They're getting contributions up and down the roster. They're 10th in net rating according to Cleaning the Glass over the last 2 weeks. They're just playing well, and so I just like, yep. Of all those teams that we just talked about, I kind of ended up between Indiana, the Clippers, and Sacramento. Who's playing the best? I think I just trust the Pacers more than the Clippers and the Kings, and so I just went with I just sort of just like closed my eyes and just wrote the Pacers in. But I could be convinced otherwise relatively easily.
This is the thing. Like I think every team in this like middle of the pack, you could just like convince me of something different at different day, right? Like the NBA.
This
Power
is the one
rankings,
that changes. every
This
week.
is the one
I had
that
the Clippers
changes.
here last week. I do this privately every week. I had the Clippers at 10.
Okay,
last
I'm
week.
gonna start doing that as well, so we can
You don't have
maybe
to.
update this like once. No, I think it would be good for my brain as a challenge. But like I
Yeah.
always read like the NBA.com ones are my favorite ones to read, and like they're all over the place right now. It's like the Bucks were 12. I mean, like in the ones for Monday, the Bucks are at like 16. Like
Yeah.
the Hawks have dropped. The Spurs made a 4. Like there's like the Heat were 9th and dropped to 14th, right? Like there's drops.
Yep.
They're 10th right now, and their order is a little bit different than ours, obviously. But they have the Lakers at 10, jumping up from 15.
Yeah, I can't get there with the Lakers, but if you want to put the Lakers in there, I'm fine with it.
I don't.
So who are we putting at 10?
I think it's Pacers or Clippers.
Like
I had the Magic in there, but it's like I think when you were talking about like it being a bet, and then like they have these injuries, I can't like say what I said about Dallas and then also just try to.
I couldn't. I had Orlando off my board. I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this team. They could easily be in the top 10. I love the Orlando Magic. I just don't like. They're this weird nebulous. I don't know what to do with them. So let's just go Indiana then, because that's why I had a 10, and we'll just split the difference that way. Okay.
All right, Pacers. Here's the top 10, and we'll tell us what ones we got wrong in the YouTube comments or on socials. Cavs, Thunder, Celtics, Knicks, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Mavericks, Rockets, Bucks, Pacers.
Yep.
That's
good to me.
10. All right, that's our top 10. That was Cavs Thunder chat. I'm Chris Manning. That's Wes Goldberg. Back at you next week with more than just basketball show. Again, check out my Satu Sabali video if you want some W coverage, and we'll talk to you soon, folks. Enjoy the hoops.